Welcome back, Defenders. This is insane. Russia has begun restricting Telegram. This is part of Russia's latest push to tighten internet control. And there are over 75 million monthly users of Telegram inside Russia, including 85% of people between the ages of 12 and 24. This was Russia's last free communication platform. Everything else has been blocked or restricted by the Kremlin. And the government is doing this because they want all of their citizens using the official government surveillance app Max. Max to come pre-installed on all devices starting in September of last year. The microphone is always on, the camera will randomly switch on to watch you in your home, and the FSB gets to read everything you say and do. So surprisingly, Russians don't want to use the official government surveillance app to talk to their family and friends. Online, Russians are complaining anywhere and everywhere. So far on Telegram, I think you can still send text messages, but you can't share files. Most Russians are complaining about issues with loading media files, sending or receiving pictures or videos. Here is the founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov. This is his reaction. Russia is restricting access to Telegram in an attempt to force its citizens to switch to a state-controlled app built for surveillance and political censorship. 8 years ago, Iran tried the same strategy and failed. It banned Telegram on made-up pretexts, trying to force people onto a state-run alternative. Despite the ban, most Iranians still use Telegram, bypassing censorship, and prefer it to the surveilled apps. Restricting citizens' freedom is never the right answer. Telegram stands for freedom of speech and privacy, no matter the pressure. It's interesting that he would mention Iran, because Russia just gave the FSB a kill switch to take out all communication in Russia should there be an uprising against the Putin regime. This is precisely what the Iranian government did when protesters took to the streets. So this was a law passed in the State Duma on January 27th, and it lets the FSB order total communication blackouts for vaguely defined security threats with no clear limits and no oversight. Telecom operators must cut internet, mobile, landline, and messaging services the moment the FSB demands it. No court order needed, no way to appeal. The law also protects all It protects all the private companies. If Russians lose connection to work, bank, energy services, or family, there's no way that they can be sued and they're not liable. This is a Orwellian police state. The level of surveillance that Putin now has over his own people, the amount of control. This is only something the KGB and the Soviets could have dreamed of, and they finally achieved it in Russia in 2026. But let's talk about how this affects the war, because this was incredibly stupid of the Russians to do exactly 1 week after losing Starlink. The front is absolutely in tatters, Starlinks are dead, and now they're jamming Telegram too. How are we supposed to fight? With pigeons? Boo-hoo, Russia. Boo-hoo. You can always lay down your arms and surrender to Ukraine, and then you don't have to die, because your government obviously doesn't care about you. Russian military rushes satellite internet terminals to the front after communication collapse. We're getting pictures of these goofy satellite dishes on the front lines. Russian frontline forces are trying to come up with alternatives, and none of these are as good as Starlink. And the Ukrainian military is still using thousands of Starlink terminals on the front, while the Russians are basically blind as far as communication. They can no longer share pictures and videos over Telegram now, if they have an internet signal. This is pretty funny, guys. I'm enjoying this week. Russian military promises $240 to Ukrainians who register Starlink terminals for them. So the Russians are trying to message Ukrainians to say, put our Starlink terminal in your system on the whitelist, and we'll send you some money. If any Ukrainian is caught doing this, they'll face 15 years to life imprisonment. But Ukraine's Ministry of Defense saw this coming. They say that specialists anticipated such workarounds in advance, and all schemes like this will be identified and shut down. The Russians are desperate. They're still going to try and beg random Ukrainians to put their serial number and whatever in the system. But I'm convinced at this point, Ukraine knows exactly where these terminals are. I think Starlink is now sharing the locations of terminals that are being used unauthorized. So if Ukraine wants to send a drone or an artillery strike, this is a good way for the Russians to die, and I think they know this now. Russia's not doing very well on the front lines, so the only thing they can do is fake propaganda wins or fake momentum. Russia filmed its victory in Ternivate with drones. An hour later, Ukrainian forces wiped out the group. Russian infiltrators planted flags and recorded footage in Ternivate, a village 15 kilometers from the front line in Zaporizhia, then lost the entire Sabotage team to a Ukrainian clearing operation. I can show you where this is located on the map. So the Russians have been trying to gain full control of Dobrovila for a pretty long time. It's the kill zone. There are no Ukrainian defenders there. The Russians come into the city. Ukraine hunts them day and night. They just die. But two Russians took a flag. I'm sure they were ordered to. And they went to this next village over here in order to take a picture or video. So this is about 15 kilometers from territory that the Russians actually control. Here's the drone video that they were ordered to do for propaganda reasons. They were then killed within an hour, and then Ukrainian defenders showed up to the exact same spot to take down the Russian flag and then put up the Ukrainian flag. So you can see how this is geolocated. There's an orange square where there's a manhole. There's a yellow line where there's this bar, and then there's this red line. And it's the exact same thing, red line, yellow line, manhole with the orange square. So the Russians were standing on this side of the sign when the Ukrainians killed them and took down their flag. They're on the other side of the sign, but it's the same location. Ukraine still controls this settlement. And I can't stop staring at these FPV videos. I think I can actually share more war footage with you now because the drone video always cuts out before the explosion because the camera feed is lost. So we can actually watch quite a bit of this. In this particular video, a drone operator is waiting on a supply road. You ground the drone to save on battery life. As soon as the supply truck goes by, the drone operator takes off and then that truck is destroyed. Here's another video I want to share with you. This one went viral. A Ukrainian drone operator found a hangar containing supply vehicles. And unfortunately, there are more than just supply vehicles in this hangar. So this operator flew in and saw 4 cars and was trying to decide which car to go for. And he eventually slammed his drone into the car that had supplies in it. So I can pause it at the moment. You can see there's a rucksack and various materials, so perhaps this vehicle was going to be used soon to do a supply run. But yes, those are horses in the background. Russia is still using horses on the front lines, and Ukraine's drone operators are trying not to harm or kill them, but my guess is they were locked in this barn. And once the first drone operator found the site, more drones are going to arrive soon. They're going to destroy all 4 of these vehicles. What are Russia's countermeasures? And they're getting pretty weird. Let me share this video with you. I'll share a little bit.
На первый взгляд, довольно странная машина. По меркам классического вооружения, ни грузового отсека, ни пулемета, ни привычной брони. Вместо этого несколько вращающихся дисков с остальными тросами. Но именно в этой необычной конструкции ее главная сила.
Что вот это такое за интересная конструкция, зачем она нужна? Я так понимаю, это пока только такой тестовый. Это, да, тестовый вариант. Задумка такая, то что валы вращаются, тем самым приводя в движение вот эту, так скажем, вентилятор с тросами. Когда FPV пытается ударить, тросы ее либо сбивают, либо откидывают в сторону.
This is a Russian propaganda piece to give their own soldiers hope. Hope that a technological solution is coming for the FPV drone problem. When it's not, look at the inside of this vehicle in order to create 4 spinning rotors at the same time. How are you supposed to adapt this to a tank or an armored personnel carrier or a civilian truck? This is what the average Russian soldier is driving on the front lines now. This is a schematic for having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rotating blades. And I'm pretty confident a Ukrainian drone operator can still destroy this vehicle. More than likely, this would kill a Russian soldier trying to get in and out of the vehicle. The Russians are desperate. They don't know what else to do. And here's an interesting video. This Russian soldier lost his arm 6 months ago, and he's never received medical treatment or been evacuated from the front lines. So he managed to film this video and smuggle it out, begging to be released. He lost his arm 6 months ago, and his commanding officer won't let him discharge.
Я Гизатуллин Ренат Радикович, позывной Гиза. Нахожусь в Красногоровке. Ампутированная рука. В госпитале не был, не вывозили. Эвакуацию пока не дают. Вот, нахожусь уже 6-й месяц. Прошу помочь мне с эвакуацией. Пожалуйста.
The Russians are forcing their amputees to continue fighting and serving on the front lines. These men have to film like self-ransom videos hoping they'll go viral before they can be discharged from military service. I also saw this video, I want to tie this in, and this Russian volunteer is going to demonstrate why the average tourniquet being given to a frontline Russian soldier is garbage. It's been this way for 4 years, and I don't know why. I'm suspicious that a lot of these tourniquets come from China. China doesn't care about the quality, but look at how bad these tourniquets are being given to Russian soldiers.
Вот берем последнюю коробицу и ножом открываем. Так, опять беру не за перфорацию. Блин, вообще ни о чем, просто ни о чем здесь. Здесь лучше, сильно лучше. Так, движемся к центру. Говно опять. Нет, не могу. Согласиться не могу.
I'm convinced that Russia's military command doesn't actually want survivors. If a Russian soldier takes a bullet to an arm or a leg, rather than caring for them, amputating them, and then having a cripple survive on disability in Russia for life, they would just prefer the Russian man die. I'm convinced that is their objective when they allow defective tourniquets being issued to their frontline soldiers. Pro-Russian Ukrainian partisans claim sabotage of Russian communications tower in the Belgorod Oblast. Belgorod has been without power the last couple days, and Atesh is currently in the city. Atesh is a sabotage group, and they set fire to things and disrupt things. Nobody really knows who they are, and they have to keep it that way so the FSB can't find them. But they're frequently blowing up communication towers or railroad switching stations or power boxes or anything they can to slow the Russians down. About 455 apartment buildings lose heating in Russia's Belgorod after Ukraine's drone attack. This was 3 days ago in response to Russia's attacks on Ukraine's energy grid. And the situation is so bad, people are just being evacuated. The governor of Belgorod is telling its citizens, if you have family and friends in other cities, just leave until we can fix the situation. But I don't think Russia is going to be able to restore the power and heating in most of the city until at least the deep part of this winter, the deep cold, is over. And this Russian citizen is going to show you What's wrong with his apartment? So he spent his own money to buy an electric heater, but he's going to show the radiators on the wall and how damaged everything in Belgorod and Ukraine is when the heat goes out, the electricity goes out, and then water in the pipes freeze.
Короче, наконец-таки решил перестать экономить на себе и порадовал себя любимого и купил себе, смотрите, вот такую вот тему. Жесткий обогреватель, а то что-то прохладненько как-то.
So once the pipes freeze and turn to ice, frost wedging cracks the pipes. The pipes can't be used until they're replaced. Does this Russian man have a Siberian tiger floor rug? In Vladivostok, a thermal power plant caught fire. About 50,000 residents of Vladivostok are currently without electricity. Ukraine had nothing to do with this. This is just things in Russia catching on fire. U.S. boards another vessel from Russia's shadow fleet. The U.S. Department of Defense put out this video showing that they've intercepted another shadow fleet tanker, this time in the Indian Ocean. This is the tanker, the Akia 2, and it was fleeing the U.S. Navy. It must have left Venezuela full of oil, gone through the Panama Canal, and it was trying to make it to India. The United States Navy caught up with the ship and then took control of it. Donald Trump has declared that all of Venezuela's oil belongs to him, so he's going to sell this oil and then keep the money for himself in his Qatari bank account. It's all pretty insane here in the United States, but this is the new normal for now. Either way, this doesn't benefit Russia. Canadian Airlines suspend Cuba flights as island is set to run out of jet fuel. This is a story that no one is paying attention to, but the United States is using blackmail and coercion to intensify the blockade on Cuba. Cuba is communist. Cuba has been unfriendly to the United States for 60 or 70 years. And Donald Trump basically has put sanctions and an embargo on the island so they can't get any oil or fuel. Cuba was being supplied oil and fuel from Venezuela, but they're not allowed to do that anymore. So this is going to cause a catastrophe. The entire economy of Cuba, it's pretty bad to begin with, but it's going to get worse if they don't have any fuel at all for trucks and automobiles or whatever. But there's something that Donald Trump wants from the regime on the island. Donald Trump doesn't have a problem with dictatorships. He's not trying to bring democracy to Cuba. He wants something from Cuba. And until Cuba gives Donald Trump money or resources or land or real estate, the embargo is going to continue, and the people of Cuba are going to continue suffering. Russian drone attacks on Ukraine kill 4, including a mother and child. This is a terrorist attack. This happened 2 nights ago in Odessa. A Russian Shahed drone slammed into the roof of this large residential apartment building in Odessa. There was a time where this would be the top news story in the world and everyone would be uniting to reject terrorism and support people being bombed in their homes. But I don't think this even made news anywhere. This is just another Sunday night in Ukraine. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I'm doing what I can to raise awareness, but if kamikaze drones slamming into residential apartment buildings doesn't make news, what should make news anymore, guys? This is Ukraine's energy company DTEK, and they're showing the before and after. So this is the thermal power plant that supplied heat to 500,000 people in Kyiv, and this is what the Russians have done to it, striking it numerous times with ballistic and cruise missiles. It's going to take Ukraine years and years to replace these facilities. Russia also continues blowing up gas stations, just any gas station anywhere, hit it with a Shahed drone and then try and get the tanks underneath. This is the former home that was hit by a Shahed drone, killing a mother and a child. The mother, Svetlana Spitsnya, was murdered, along with her 10-year-old son, Mikhailo. He's wearing a Transformers t-shirt. This is what the rescue and repair crews of Ukraine currently look like, trying to fix facilities and save lives in negative 20 degrees Celsius weather. These men are heroes. What more can I say? I just can't imagine what it's currently like for the people there. At the moment, residents of Ukraine, or Kyiv, they're only getting about 4 or 5 hours of electricity a day. This is the schedule, saying that the electricity will be on between 4 and 6, and then just for an hour and a half in the evening. But it's still freezing. It's still below 0 temperatures. Concerning the politics, I wish I had good news. The United States is pressuring Ukraine and Russia to end the war by June, according to Zelensky, and Donald Trump is starting to freak out about the midterm elections. He made a campaign promise 2 years ago that he could end this war in 24 hours, and it's now been dragging on for almost a year and a half since he was elected, and he's trying to force Ukraine to capitulate or surrender or give Russia something, so Russia will stop, agree to a ceasefire, and then the Trump family can start making billions of dollars in business deals with Vladimir Putin. But the Russians are also pretty frustrated too. No rosy future. Lavrov slams Trump administration in a recent interview. Russia accuses the United States of backing out of an alleged Ukraine territory surrender agreement. So Lavrov is saying that in Alaska, Putin and Trump agreed that Ukraine would give up territory. This is what Lavrov said in a recent interview. Made in the autumn, a couple of weeks after the very positive meeting between Putin and Trump in Anchorage. That is, it seems like they are telling us that we need to resolve the Ukrainian issue. Well, in Anchorage, we accepted the United States' proposal. That is, if you approach it in a manly way, they made the offer, we accepted. The problem must be solved. And I actually remember this confusion. After Trump met with Putin in Alaska, he was all excited. One, he claimed that Putin agreed to meet Zelensky face-to-face, which never happened. But he also was talking about this stupid land swap deal. He said the Russians agreed to a land swap. Here's a clip from BBC News. This is August 8th of 2025. And this is what Trump said. I'm just going to play 10 seconds.
So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back and some swapping. It's complicated. It's actually nothing easy. It's very complicated, but we're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories.
There will be some swapping of territories. He said this, and I said, what is he talking about? Russia's never going to give up any territory. And Trump is so stupid that when he's sitting down with Putin and the translators, the Russians told Trump, we're willing to give up our claims to the rest of Kherson and the rest of Zaporizhia if Ukraine will give us Donetsk now. And Trump is so stupid, he interpreted that as the Russians agreed to give up Kherson and give up Zaporizhia in exchange for the rest of Donetsk. Which would actually be a pretty good deal for Ukraine. If Ukraine could get all of this territory back and then isolate Crimea, completely eliminate the land bridge. This is a hypothetical that's not going to happen, but this is how incompetent and stupid the entire Trump administration is, where Trump, for a couple weeks, genuinely believed the Russians agreed to give up their territory in Kherson and Zaporizhia for Donetsk, which the Russians never agreed to. The Russians are upset because it's been 6 or 7 months, and Trump has been unable to force Ukraine to give up this territory. Let's now get to the good news for Ukraine. Why are 15 EU states lining up to buy Ukrainian weapons? The first Ukrainian-designed drone produced in Germany is expected within days. Here's the announcement from President Zelensky. Today we are opening exports. 10 export centers across Europe will be operating as early as 2026 in the Baltic and Nordic states. 10 representative offices will be active in 2026. By mid-February, we will already see the production of our drones in Germany. I will receive the first one. This is a production line that is operational. Production lines are also operating in the UK. All of these are Ukrainian technologies. So what Ukraine is doing is they're opening drone factories in other countries. This is beneficial since Russia can't bomb them, Russia can't knock out the power. I also think these factories are going to employ a lot of Ukrainian refugees, so this will be jobs. But these factories can take orders and then not fulfill the orders for maybe 6 months or a year. So all this capital will be brought in upfront. They'll be producing drones. The per unit costs for use by Ukraine's military might be really low, but perhaps Denmark or Sweden or the UK will pay commercial rates, so there's room for a profit. If Ukraine can start generating profit and revenue from selling their drones to other countries, then they can use that profit to make more drones for themselves. There's a tremendous economic benefit here, as well as a logistics benefit, and it's actually really smart that Ukraine is now going to do this. Ukraine secures 150 Swedish Gripens and 100 French Rafales in twin fighter jet deal. Thank you so much to Sweden and France. France offers replacement radar for Ukraine's SAM-PT system while undergoing repairs. Once again, thank you, France. Tokyo joins NATO's Pearl initiative with non-lethal military equipment funding for Kyiv. Japan doesn't want to buy offensive weapons, but radar systems and bulletproof vests count, so thank you so much, Japan. Lithuania launches their fourth Radomon campaign, fundraising 5.7 million euros. Thank you so much, Lithuania. Slovakia's government sucks, but their citizens are still pretty cool. They fundraised 1 million euros to help buy generators and other things to get through this difficult winter. Before we get to the final video, I want to mention this organization called Balakun. Join the conversation. One of my supporters on Patreon, this is David, he sent me this message and I want to share it with you guys. I was wondering if you could give a short promotion for balakun.org. It is a volunteer organization that provides English education as well as other languages to Ukrainians. As an old age pensioner, I have almost no money to donate, but I can donate my time. I have been assigned 2 active Ukrainian servicemen who want to learn English. They need native English speakers with a good vocabulary and neutral accents, people who will enunciate well and who aren't shy. Mostly just chat and give practice communicating, but there is course material as well. I believe it is a good option for people like myself with little money but who want to help. I've never heard of this organization before, but seems really nice. If you want to volunteer your time to do English conversation classes with Ukrainians looking to improve their own English skills, I'll put the link to this organization down below. Final video is once again Ukrainian defenders returning home. I saw this video and it was very moving. This is a Ukrainian defender choosing to sing a song that was sung by the defenders of Azovstal in 2022. Let me share the video.
Не хочемо ні слави, ні заплати, заплата нам, то радість боротьби, солодше нам у бою умирати, як жити в путах, мов німі раби, солодше нам у бою умирати, як жити в путах, мов німі раби, доволі нам руїни і незгоди, не сміє брат на брата йти у бій, під синьо-жовтим прапором свободи з'єднаєм весь великий нарід свій.
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.